Welcome to Theology Talks. Today, we explore the fascinating legacy of Kukai and Saicho, two visionary monks who shaped Japanese Buddhism. From Mount Koya's esoteric teachings to the Tendai sect's eclectic paths to enlightenment, discover how their ideas transformed faith and culture in Japan. Let's dive in. Buddhism arrived in Japan from Korea during the 6th century CE, with various sects later introduced through China. It was embraced by both the elite and common people as it reinforced the political and social order, addressed questions about the afterlife, and blended seamlessly with Shinto beliefs. Monasteries sprang up across the country, evolving into influential political entities. Buddhism also played a pivotal role in advancing literacy, education, and the arts in ancient Japan. Introduction to Buddhism in Japan. Buddhism was brought to Japan in either 538 CE or 552 CE, the traditional date, by the Korean kingdom of Baekje. It gained strong support from the Soga clan, which had Korean ancestry, and the growing Korean immigrant community in Japan. Official government endorsement came in 587 CE during Emperor Yomei's reign, despite resistance from some aristocratic clans like the Manobe and Nakatomi, who remained devoted to Shinto. Buddhism supported the idea of a hierarchical society, with the emperor at the top, protected by the four guardian kings of Buddhist law. The aristocracy further benefited by claiming their elevated status was a reward for merit earned in past lives. Beyond preserving the status quo, Buddhism also aimed to elevate Japan's cultural standing in East Asia, aligning it with the advanced societies of Korea and China. Once officially recognized, Japanese monks, scholars, and students frequently traveled to China to deepen their understanding of Buddhist principles and brought back not only knowledge but also art and sacred relics. Prince Shotoku and the spread of Buddhism. Prince Shotoku, 574 to 622 CE, is credited with firmly establishing Buddhism in Japan. As regent from 594 CE until his death, Shotoku authored the 17-article constitution, Jushichijo Kempo, in 604 CE. This ethical code advocated for government centralization and emphasized Buddhist and Confucian values, especially harmony, Wa. His respect for Buddhism is evident in Article 2 of the Constitution, which states, "Sincerely reverence the three treasures." The three treasures, Buddha, the law, and the priesthood, are the final refuge of all beings and the ultimate objects of faith in every nation. Few people are entirely wicked, they can be guided. But without devotion to the three treasures, how can their flaws be corrected? True to his word, Shotoku constructed numerous temples and monasteries, organized artists to create Buddhist images, and deeply studied Buddhist teachings, even writing commentaries on 3 sutras. During his reign, he built 46 temples and monasteries, with the most notable being Shitanoji, Hokoji, built in 596, and Horyoji. Imperial support. Buddhism continued to thrive with the strong backing of Emperor Temu and Empress Jito, who sponsored more temple construction, had additional sutras copied, and used monasteries as hubs for population and tax records. Emperor Shomu took this to new heights by planning a temple in every province, each featuring a 7-storied pagoda. This ambitious plan increased taxation significantly. In the capital Nara, monumental temples like Todaiji were built, completed in 752 under the guidance of the monk Jyogi. Shomu also began the practice of emperors abdicating to join monasteries while continuing to influence politics from behind the scenes, a system later known as cloistered government. While endorsing Buddhism, the elite were cautious of its potential for misuse. Laws passed in the 8th century aimed to limit monks' influence, forbidding private chapels, divination, forced conversions, and the use of magic for healing. Monks and nuns were also restricted from owning property, trading, or accepting slaves and weapons as gifts. Despite these rules, some monks and temples exploited their positions, acquiring land illegally, committing fraud, and profiting through high-interest loans, which burdened peasants and led to unpaid taxes. Coexistence with Shinto. Ancient Japanese beliefs, including animism and Shinto, coexisted peacefully with Buddhism. Shinto, focusing on this life, left questions about the afterlife unanswered, allowing Buddhism to fill the gap. Many practiced both religions, and temples of both faiths often shared the same site. Buddhist deities were absorbed into the Shinto pantheon, while Shinto gods were associated with Buddhist figures, such as Amaterasu with Dainichi and Hachiman with Amida Buddha. Artworks from one religion often appeared in the buildings of the other, and priests managed temples or shrines interchangeably. Although an imperial edict in 764 officially elevated Buddhism above Shinto, for most ordinary people, the opposite was likely true. Buddhism, however, dominated death rituals, with its practice of cremation becoming widespread across all social levels. Buddhism and wider society. Buddhist monasteries often received free land and tax exemptions from emperors seeking blessings for their reigns. This made monasteries both economically and politically powerful. Many funded their own armed attendants, essential in turbulent times to fend off warlords and bandits and to influence local officials. By the late 8th century, their power had grown so much that Emperor Kemu moved the capital from Nara in 784 to distance it from the surrounding temples. Despite this, monasteries like Kofukuji, Todaiji, Enryakuji, and Onjoji frequently used force in the 10th and 11th centuries to expand their holdings and secure favorable conditions from governors. Rivalries also emerged, notably between Toji and Kyosen. On a more positive note, monasteries were integral to communities, offering schools, higher education, libraries, and aid to the needy. Monks contributed to public works like roads, bridges, and irrigation projects. However, their growing influence, backed by large public donations, sometimes frustrated the imperial court, prompting bans on monks leaving monasteries. Key Buddhist figures. As Buddhism evolved in India and China, new sects emerged and reached Japan through monks who studied abroad. The first 6 major sects in Japan were the Kusha, Sanron, Ritsu, Jujutsu, Keigon, and Hasso. 2 influential scholar monks, Kukai (774 to 835) and Saicho (767 to 822), founded 2 more sects, Shingon and Tendai, both part of Mahayana Buddhism, or its great vehicle, Kukai and Shingon Buddhism. Kukai studied in China from 804 to 806 and became a proponent of esoteric Buddhism, or Mikyo. This form of Buddhism taught that only those who renounced worldly life and lived in monasteries could truly know the Buddha and achieve enlightenment. Kukai introduced the Shingon sect, which he had studied in China, known there as Kuanyin. Shingon teachings centered on the cosmic Buddha Mahavairakana, called Dainichi in Japan. One of Shingon's revolutionary ideas was that enlightenment could be attained in one's lifetime rather than after death. Its rituals emphasized meditation with specific body postures, sacred hand gestures, mudras, and chanting secret mantras. Prayer held a particularly significant role within this sect. Kukai also authored works like the Shorai Mokoroku, which documented newly imported sutras. In 819, Kukai established a center for his esoteric teachings on Mount Koya in modern Wakayama Prefecture. Here, devotees could attain enlightenment not through lifelong study of sutras but by viewing mandalas, stylized visual representations of Buddha's teachings. In 823, Emperor Saga approved the founding of the Toji Temple in Kyoto, marking Shingon Buddhism as part of the state religion. Nearly a century after Kukai's death, in 921, he was posthumously honored with the title Kobo Daisher, meaning Great Teacher of Spreading the Law. Saicho and Tendai Buddhism. Saicho, an ascetic monk, chose to live on Mount Hiei near Kyoto, where he built the first shrine of what became the vast Enryakuji temple complex in 788. A passionate learner, Saicho studied various Buddhist traditions and gained followers, including notable disciples like Ensho and Gishin. In 804, he traveled to Tang, China, where he studied 4 branches of Buddhism, including Zen and Tiantai, delving into higher teachings and Mikyo, esoteric Buddhism. He returned with over 200 manuscripts and tools for esoteric rituals. Saicho aimed to simplify Buddhism and founded the Tendai sect upon his return. This sect emphasized esoteric rituals as the most effective path to enlightenment, accessible only to the initiated, while also allowing diverse approaches to spiritual growth. Tendai received royal approval from Emperor Kemu, and in 805, Saicho conducted Japan's first officially sponsored esoteric rites. Upon his death in 822, he was posthumously titled Dengyo Daisher and revered as a bodhisattva, someone who achieves nirvana but stays to guide others. Over time, Tendai's inclusive teachings inspired offshoots like the Pure Land sect, Jodo, centered on the popular figure Amida, the Universal Buddha, and the Nichiren sect. Later, during the medieval period, Zen Buddhism flourished, while Buddhism itself remained a dominant faith until Shinto regained prominence in the 15th century. Today, Buddhism continues to thrive as a significant religion in modern Japan.